Hello everyone. I've been reading a lot of stories of mostly women, but there's men out there too that are they're in relationships with narcissists. And so I thought maybe telling what I've been through would be at least helpful. Maybe somebody out there will realize that you can get away even when you think you don't have anything. You can get away. Let's see, I'll start with, I was married for 36 years. And, I am still married. And, but not for long. And, throughout the marriage, I knew he was messing around on me. In one instance, one of his sources of supply from his job wrote him a note, and it was, "I want to wrap my legs around your sexy body," and this and that. Well, I happened to find the note. I was pregnant, and I was enough pregnant that it hurt for what he did to me to get that note. I was on the floor on my knees, like this, down on my knees, and he sat on me, sat on my back. I couldn't breathe, and he wouldn't let me up. And that was while I was pregnant with his child. Okay, so he blew that off. He said that was because he didn't want to throw the note away right there at the restaurant. Bunk is what it was. Bullshit. So the next thing that happened, same apartment, another source of supply, came knocking on my door. I had night sickness instead of morning sickness. So I was in the bathroom throwing up. And there was a knock at the door. He was at work. I open up the door, and the girl standing there is telling me that she's there to clean his apartment. His apartment? This is our apartment. We're married. What do you mean, his apartment? So I told her to leave, and she wouldn't leave. So I pushed her out the door, and she tried to shove the door back on me. So she's really lucky that I had to stop throwing up just to go answer the door. But so I didn't have a lot of strength at the minute, but I was ready to throw her over the balcony. And so then there was that time. And then he would get his supply from just even people that I worked with. One lady that I was working with, I wouldn't call her a lady, but anyway, sent him a, chest shot. And, he always said, "Oh, I don't like big boobs. I don't like this." But here it is, and it's on his phone. So I got his phone, and I texted her, "Hey, he didn't like that." She didn't like that. Anyway, for years, it was behaviors like allowing our daughter to wear skimpy outfits and things that a child shouldn't be wearing. His mother would go buy them, and then I would have to be the one to throw them away because they wouldn't do it, of course. And so I was the demon. I was the bad guy. Always, always, always. When my daughter was 5 years old, she stared at me straight ahead. Not at me. She stared straight ahead, and I would tell her, "Look at me, look at me," and she would not look at me. She'd stare straight ahead. So I knew something something wasn't right. It wasn't too many years after that, if not even the same year, he got upset because I was going to go meditate with a friend, and he didn't want me to go, and I didn't see any reason why I shouldn't. So because I was literally two doors away. So he proceeded to channel something and had tears streaming down his face. And he told me this message was that I should take care of my daughter. That I am responsible for my daughter. Okay, that message, because I always did take care of my daughter. So that message was, I didn't understand it. And for years, in fact, it didn't become clear until I learned he was a narcissist. Why? Because his mama was a dead mother. If you, let's see if I can get this. Can you see better now? Okay. I've got the door open. The flies are flying in. Anyway, so his mother is a dead mother, and pretty much was the one that created the narcissist. And his dad was never there. So, and he was an only child. Well, I was raised by a narcissist. My mother wasn't, but my dad was. And both of my sisters are. So, they always teamed up against me, always. And come to find out all these years later, well, when my kids were still, when they were still in school, I learned that my little sibling had been talking to my mother-in-law. Who does that? Who does that? So they were teaming up, trying to take my kids from me. I had no idea. I mean, I knew that something was weird. Why were they even at my house? We hadn't seen each other in years. There was no reason for them to drop by. But they think that they are, they're into social this and that. And, one of them's married to a cop, and the other one was a cop. And, they think they're big shit. So anyway, I let him come in, and I let him spend whatever amount of time it was, an hour maybe, there. And they left, and anyhow, I always knew that they, and my dad did a real fine job of playing us, the three of us, against each other all the time. So, I was already prepped to be in a narcissistic relationship. But I've always been somebody who's extremely strong. I know what I know, and I'm highly intuitive. I'm an empath. And my higher self, my guides were telling me the whole time that, all my life, that they were guiding me throughout all of my life, and they still are. And little things that would come up, I would get the intuition that something was wrong about this. And every single time I ever said anything about what was wrong, my so-called husband would lie to me and tell me I was wrong, trying to get me to not believe my intuition. Now that I'm out, I know. I know how right I was. So, fast forward to, I guess, January of last year. And no, let's go back to 2017. I have cancer, and I don't see a doctor. I take herbs, and I make my diet my medicine. And so in 2017, I hadn't got everything worked out. I hadn't figured out everything about my body at that point. And he kept coming home. He was working at a job that he says was 18 hours a day. And so I would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning when he was to get up to go to work. I'd stay up just so I could make him some breakfast. And even though, literally, and I would tell him too, my arms would, you can't see me, but they would jerk like this. You know, I didn't have control over my own appendages because my nervous system was so, it was ready. I needed to go to sleep. I needed to lay down and go to sleep. And of course it would be better the next day. Well, he kept asking me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I'd say, because you got to eat. You're going on, you know, you're going to be all over the state working for 18 hours. You got to eat. And then when he would come home, he'd go to the vape shop and spent, I don't know how many hundreds of dollars on vape mods and juices and this and that. And hanging out with some girl that was younger than our own children. Younger than our own children. 20 to be. So anyway, I would make fun of him and say, you're in love with that little girl. And because I knew it was true. And he denied it and denied it and denied it. And finally, I went through and got all the messages off of his phone. And, or, you know, through the phone company. And sure enough, that's what was going on. So as soon as I confronted him with it, because a narcissist won't accept accountability, they'll never admit anything. And he was telling me he was trying to set my son up with her. And I said, leave my son out of this. Leave him out of this. And, but that was the excuse. So he, one day, and I was so sick. My God, I was so sick. I was literally on my deathbed. I couldn't walk well. I was having seizures. I was bleeding from my nipple, thanks to the cancer that was in my breast. And he was telling me that he didn't believe me. He didn't believe me. So I would get the blood and I'd, you know, show him. I wiped it on his arm and I said, there you go. You know, you watched me do it. What's not to believe? And so he pretty much just, you know, just ignored me. He didn't help me at all. He didn't help me at all. Not at all. So one day he decided he'd had enough. I had the proof that he was messing around with this girl younger than our kids. April, I think was her name. And I think that, yeah. Anyway, messing around with her. So I accused him of it. And he got mad because he knew I had proof. And I kept shoving it in his face. Here's your proof, here's your proof, here's your proof. And so he started to pack up his stuff and leave. And so I told him everything that I'd done. Just to make him mad, you know. Get out. And so he accused me of being the one that was wrong and the betrayer and all of this other nonsense. And it was nonsense, really, really, truly, because he betrayed me from the get-go. I remember trying to go back home. It wasn't even a week after we got married. I called my dad and I said, please, can I come back home? He said, no, kiddo, you chose to do this. Sorry. So, and I was 17. So, anyhow, you know, I did what I wanted to do because, why not? He wouldn't spend time with me. He wouldn't go anywhere. I had to basically twist his arm to get him to travel anywhere with me. His parents never even took him out of this state until we got married. That's the first time he went out of Oklahoma. So, or so he says. So, yeah, you can't believe anything a narcissist says. And so, anyway, where was I? Anyway, so he was packing his stuff up and happened to leave behind a few things that I had bought for him. And his motorcycle, he rides a Harley, and it happens to be, you know, when he was too broke, or at least too broke for our family. I mean, I don't know who else he was supporting. He was paying for a motorcycle that he didn't need, and then blaming me because somebody had T-boned me and my car was totaled, and we were looking for a car. I had to have a car. And so, but that motorcycle, it got paid for every single time, every single month, every single month, every single month. He did not lose his motorcycle. And so it was kind of a tense subject, because it was unnecessary, and we paid for it. My kids and I paid for that motorcycle, with the lack of groceries, with the lack of a vacation, of anything. So he left, and I ended up cutting up. I bought his helmet, and I bought his jacket, and I cut up his jacket. I busted his helmet, and I cut up a belt that he had that he really liked, because he left it. He shouldn't have left it. If you're going to move out, move out. And he ended up going and sleeping with this little 20-year-old. And so I would text him and tell him, you know, you're being so stupid. You get her pregnant, oh, you're going to be in so... Oh, man. So he goes and lives with my son instead. All the while, he is lying to them, and I have no idea what his lies were, but he has them even to this very moment, hating me so much. For why? I don't know. I was only ever a good mother. I only ever cared about I breastfed my son for 1.5 years. You know, I worried so much about my kids and the things that they ate, because he would never make them eat vegetables. And my aunt even jumped down my throat when they went to stay with her one year, because they wouldn't eat any vegetables, and she had gone to the store and bought all these vegetables. And I said, I'm sorry, I tried, you know, I keep trying, but if I have to be at work and he's watching the kids and he's not going to make them eat their vegetables, what can I do? I have to work. So, he ends up moving in with her, and then moving in with my son, our son. And from that point on, my son has hated me. And that hurts. It hurts that my kids hate me, because they have no idea what they're even hating. They don't even know me. If they are going by what he says, they don't know me. And I can't understand that, because I'm the mom that my son would call and say, this and this and this is happening, and I'm so pissed off, and this, and I was the one that would help him through his bad days. It was me. It wasn't Dad. It was me. So I don't understand how it was that, and my daughter, every seizure that she ever had, that I wasn't at work. I mean, I raced from work all the way to the fire station and the school where she had a seizure, and was there in, like 7 minutes, like 11 miles away, because my daughter had a seizure. But did he come home? Did he stay home when she was sick? No. No, he didn't care. He never cared. But my kids hate me. So, anyhow, he moved out, and from that point forward, it was downhill. And he ended up moving back in about a month later, and told me to, let go, but don't let all the way go. If I'd have known then what I know now. Anyhow, so from that point on until we'll just say until last year, you might hear some kittens, because I've got a whole anyway, a whole litter of kittens here that I've rescued. But anyway, we ended up moving into a house that was way too big for 2 people. Our kids are grown, they're adults. My daughter has 2 grandkids. This is my daughter's necklace that I bought for her. And I bought my grandson one as well, and she won't let me give them to them, so I wear it. But and I've had to tell them I can't hang on anymore. I've waited and waited for my kids to come see me, and I can't hang on anymore. But last year it started getting real bad. Just the 2 of us in this big house, and we weren't getting along, and because I was seeing right through all of his nonsense. And it was about that time that I came across Nart Daily, his YouTube channel. And had it not been for that guy, I'd probably still be there. He kept saying, if not now, when? If not now, when? If not now, when? Every single video. And I would turn up the videos. I'd watch them. I'd turn it up on the stereo, Bluetooth it to the stereo, and turn it up real loud so he could hear it in the basement. Anything to irritate him, because I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him. I would be in pain, not able to sleep, because listen, I've had cancer for at least 20 years. I know since 2005. And I have a friend who has a letter that I wrote her back in 1998 that said that I needed to go get a mammogram because I was hurting. And so, who knows how long I've had cancer. But during this last year, I was so much better, but I was having nerve issues in my arms, and especially right here and in my legs, and I couldn't sleep very good, and I would have to sleep on my knees, or I would sleep butt in the air with with my torso down, but the rest of me up, because however it worked, that's how I could sleep. So he would come in, I would wake up, and I would find him taking pictures of me while I was asleep. And many times he took pictures of me in weird ways. So, he ended up living in the basement while I pretty much had the rest of the house upstairs. And that was just fine. That's where he belonged. I mean, this is somebody who never brushed his teeth unless I sat there and complained. And then I think he just wet the toothbrush. He never drank water. He always drank coffee, day in, day out, 24/7, never drank anything else. For a long time when we first got married, it was just Coke. He would just drink Coke. But I liked a cup of coffee, so I would have a cup of coffee and he would ew until I made him a cup, and then, I shouldn't have ever done it. Because that's all he ever does, drink now. And he reeks of cigarettes and coffee and never brushing his teeth. He's just nasty. And so, and I would tell him that, just nasty. And so, may as well stay downstairs. I don't want to see you. I don't want to look at you. You're ugly. Just stay downstairs. And all the while, my kids, my daughter quit coming by, but my son would come by, and he wouldn't even come in the house. He would stay outside. They would talk outside. So, well, I guess I need to kind of back up, because the story, when he was leaving, when he moved out to go sleep with that little girl, I mean, I wonder if I ever find out that he messed with my daughter, I'll make damn sure he's incarcerated for the rest of his life. I will. He'd better not ever have touched my daughter. Or my son. But anyway, and the sad part is, because I'm epileptic, I know this to be a fact, and I know my daughter doesn't have, because she's told me, doesn't have a memory much of her childhood either, and it's because we've had so many seizures. So anyway, while he was living with that little girl, I was so bad off that, I was scared to death that I'd have a seizure by myself. I was in the bed, barely could get up and walk around. I was on a walker. I was literally, if I had to go to the bathroom, I would literally be almost on the floor and couldn't get up because I just couldn't get up. I had no strength, and I was so close to death. I was so close, and had I not, man, I cried and I cried, and I prayed, please help me get back to bed. And he was never there for any of that, never. Neither were my kids. I was all by myself. Meow. So he, last year, I went through and watched almost all of his videos, Narc Daly's videos, and I made up my mind I was leaving. And I decided that, I had things to square away. I couldn't take everything. I didn't want him left with anything of mine, any pictures of mine, any plants, any animals, and I had to leave 2 of my cats. And they were already 8 and 9 years old, and I couldn't bring them because if I had, then, when we moved, Mama Kitty ran away, and she went back to the other house, And by the time she made it back to our new house, she was literally starving. Her bones, she was so skinny. So I knew that I couldn't take her, or she would try to run away. And where was I going to live? I had no idea. I had nowhere to go. Neither of my kids would offer ever. They didn't offer. They didn't give me any suggestions. They wouldn't even speak to me. So I ended up calling a friend that I had just recently got in touch with, and she lived in an RV, and a little 16 foot, 20 foot, somewhere around there, RV with a dog. And so there was no room for another person. And she told me that, even though she said I was more than welcome to be in there. But I decided, I've got to leave my cats. I have to give away my plants. I had 20-some plants, beautiful plants too. So I gave away my plants to a lady who, somebody had dropped off a kitten in my front yard, and this kitten was come here, just a little bit older than this little baby. Let's see here. Meow, meow, turn around. Anyhow, hang on. Okay, I'm not gonna drop you. Okay, so just a little bit bigger than that, and it was blind in one eye. I only found her because she was in the tree and couldn't see to get down. Her eyes were matted shut. So I picked her up, brought her in, and I was healing her eye and getting all of that. She was getting a whole lot better by the time I left, but I made sure to find her a new home before, because you don't want to leave your animals with a narcissist, and especially a kitten. That's just so. Found her a home with the lady that ended up taking my plants as well. And when I asked her if she wanted plants, she thought I meant 2 or 3 plants. No, she was surprised. So anyhow, I got all those out of the house, and little by little, every day while he was gone to work, I'd pack something else, things that he wouldn't know, until I had my trunk so packed full that I couldn't put another thing in it. That way, he had no idea whether my trunk was, because I had my keys, and I was hiding my keys. So, and he had no idea that I had packed anything, because, he didn't pay any attention to that, or at least I don't think he did. He was too busy out screwing around. So, I eventually got my car loaded down with every single thing that was mine. Not ours, but mine. And one day, I had decided over the weekend that I was going to leave on Monday. And I didn't even have a license. My license had been expired. I went with, I think I had $15 in my pocket, and I went from Enid to Paul's Valley, which is almost 200 miles away, somewhere around there. And it was a long trip, especially with my car. It was loaded down, so bad that I literally had only my seat. I couldn't be doing too much of this. I had things that were really right beside me. And, there was something else. Yeah, he tried to kill me multiple times. He came home back in 2017 or somewhere around there. He had come home. He had to go get new tires put on my car. And he came home with 4 new tires on my car, and told me that the guys at the tire shop told him that they should be pressurized to 51 psi, 50 psi, because that was the best place for a low profile tire. I don't know, I didn't know he was a narcissist. All I knew was he was lying about, whatever he lied about, but I didn't know anything about narcissism. And so I thought, well, whatever, 50 psi, whatever, And so whenever they would fall below that pressure and he'd be out driving my car around, I'd say, you air them back up. If that's what they said the best thing was for the tire, then air it back up. And so he would, I guess, take the air out of them. Sorry, I'm watching the cat. Anyway, he would take the air out of them for him, but air them back up for me. That, obviously, I don't know. Anyway, so I drove down here, and August heat in Oklahoma is like 100, 110. So I drove all the way down here in that kind of heat with my car overloaded with 51 pounds of pressure, 54, 55 pounds of pressure in my tires. Oh my codes, it was throwing codes like crazy. Freaking me out. I just had my hands on the steering wheel. Please, Creator, make sure I get to where I'm going. Please help me get to where I'm going. And I got here, and I was so happy. That's the video that I posted where freedom, yay, I'm out. That was that day. And so at least I had a place to park my car, but there really wasn't any place for me to sleep. So I slept in my car for 6 weeks. I lived in my car for 6 weeks. And I was looking for a job. I had to get a license, and for some reason down here they don't, you buy a license, but they don't print it for you here. It'll be sent in the mail. Well, unbeknownst to me, I was in an RV park that was being run by a narcissist. And to top it off, all of her little flying monkeys were also narcissists. And I mean, even though I sat there and told them, this is that's what a narcissist does. That's what a narcissist does. They didn't care. Oh, well, I'm a narcissist then. They didn't care. They're idiots. Anyway, and they've done some really dirty deeds since all of that. Anyway, I ended up staying there until the narcissist had a problem with the fact that the guys were at my car, hanging at my car. Like I invited them. I didn't invite them. I didn't want them there. And I was tired of being watched constantly. But that's what they do. So it was ticking her off. So she was trying to cause me problems. So I got him to send me some money. And before I left, I told him, I said, you send me $150 because I didn't have any money. I hadn't worked since 2014. So I told him he had to send me $150 every week. Hang on, I've got to go look at this. This is crazy. Can you see that? Crazy keys. Come on. Yeah, you can't go out. You get run over. There you go. Go play with Mama. Oh. Well, hang on. I gotta fix my thing again. Let's see here. not real good at the video thing. And I don't have anything but a tablet. But I wanted, you know, if I could give somebody some inspiration to get out of a relationship like that, then that's what I want to do. So, and excuse my appearance. I've been working all day. So, I ended up finding a job at a diner here in town. And, or wait, let me back up. He was giving me $150 a week. And I told him that I wanted, I think it was $600 up front. And then I would leave. Well, he gave me that amount, but I had plants to get rid of, I had cats to get rid of, and because he gave me that amount, he wasn't buying me groceries anymore. He wasn't taking care of my needs while I was living there still. So I had to spend that money on myself while I was still there. And so I get in the car, and I've only got, you know, just a small amount of money left. And I get here, and I end up sleeping in my car until, you know, it's hard to not only store herbs, but try to take, and I mean, I take a lot of pills. I take a lot of herbs. 30, at the time that I was living there, you know, I'd be taking up to 50 herbs a day. And so, it was hard to take care of myself and still live in a car. So I asked him to send me some money so that I could lay down somewhere. And he did. And, you know, because he's got to keep his chains on his supply source, or what he feels like is his supply source. Tough shit. That's over. Anyhow, so he sent me the money. And I ended up moving into the room that I'm in now. And the owners gave me a job here. And to start out with, it was an equal trade, because I didn't feel like, you know, I was just happy that they were going to let me have a place to lay my head. And so, and the diner, when I was working there, but that boss is a narcissist as well, and tried to use me as a scapegoat for what his flying monkeys were doing wrong, and I wasn't playing. So I walked out. I left him there. Anyway, so I ended up staying here the night that I started working at the diner, and I met the two housekeepers that were working the motel, and one of them is a black lady that I dearly love, and she ended up talking the owners into hiring me. And I told them that if they would just give me the room, then they didn't have to pay me. Just give me the room, and I would do what I could do. And so they did, and they pay me now, but that was their choice, and I can't even tell you how much I appreciate those two people in my life, and the other housekeeper, because they've been my shoulder to cry on. They've been a foundation to start. And that's basically the story that I'm trying to get across here. You can do it. You can leave. Get out of the narcissistic marriage, because or relationship, and just go. And I promise because it happened that way for me. No matter how many, and I mean there was, let's see, the RV park manager, her flying monkeys, which were 1, 2, I can't even count how many of them there were. And then the owner of the diner ran into him, he's a narc. So it seemed like everywhere I turned, and now I'm well, anyway, they're still in my world. So even with all of that, the owners didn't have to pay me. They didn't have to hire me. They didn't have to trust me. But they do. Or did. Or do. Whatever. And I couldn't be more grateful. But it's not just that. The customers, like today, I walk into one of the rooms that I clean, and there's a $20 bill sitting there. And, the blessings come in every day. They're every day. And I also have a place to lay my head. I'm getting better. I'm still, I've got some issues going on with my leg. But to go from being bedridden and barely able to walk to now I'm cleaning, well, like today, 18 rooms a day, plus working in the office. That's a blessing in and of itself. Who can say that they haven't had a doctor? Or even the education to doctor themselves, and yet has made it this 20 years with cancer. But I mean, it's on my face. It's in my sinuses, so it's really messed up my teeth. But I'm here. So and I feel like I was cutting cords last night. I'm still cutting cords, energetic cords, and when I'm done, I'll be healed. I had to write to my children, even though my son threatened me with a protective order if I write him one more time. Isn't that something? So I wrote them and told them, I got to move on. There was a guest here at the motel that wanted me to go to Greece with him, and he would pay for the whole trip, there and back. And I didn't go because I hoped that, that maybe during that time that I was supposed to have been gone, that my kids would come and see me. Of course they didn't. But I can't hang on like that anymore. I have to live my life now. And so I had to kind of, that's hard. And how do you let go of your kids? I've hung on since 2017, hoping that they would come and see me. So, I gotta let go. And I have. He still tries to get into my head. I know he's with some, who knows what kind of filth he has up in that house. I've dreamed it though, and I know he does. So I've even dreamed that he's got a child, another child. I've dreamed all kinds of crazy things, but I wouldn't doubt for a second that they're true. And I'm pretty intuitive. So anyway, that's my story, or at least that part of it. And I just wanted to tell anybody out there that's struggling living with a narcissist, you can get out. And as soon as you walk out that door and don't look back, the blessings start pouring in. And you may have to wait a minute or a day or, but eventually it starts flowing. The more you keep moving forward, the more the blessings flow. And it's worth every bit of it to have your life back. So, thanks for watching. I hope everybody gets out of the narcissistic relationship. Nobody deserves that. Thanks. Bye.